Do you struggle to keep a work-life balance? If you do, you are not alone. Gallup studies show that 72% of executives admit to struggling with work-life balance. The other 28% are lying. I was in that 28% when I got some alarming news. It's 1980. I'm 38 years old, and I am sitting on a bed at the St. Joseph Hospital in Phoenix. Dr. White says to me, Antonio, you have a brain tumor, and we need to remove it immediately. Ay, Dios mío, oh my God, I don't have time for surgery. I'm too busy at work. What would you do at a situation like that? Would you skip it? I don't think so. Not if your life is at stake. My wife Tina grasps my hand as if to say, I'm here for you. And I say, Tina, why? Why me? And she says, maybe because you don't have a family life anymore. You're working 12-hour days, even on weekends. And you are a chain smoker. Your children miss you. And you don't have them as a priority anymore. Yes, my priority is at work. One day, I got so busy that I totally forgot to pick up our 8-year-old son, Tony, from soccer practice. I will never forget the expression in his face of fear because he had been there for over an hour in the dark, alone. I felt so guilty. Tina's words made me realize that I had neglected my family. And instead, I have been focusing on climbing the corporate ladder. My family had become minor characters in the story of my life. And at that moment, our 3 children come to see me. And seeing their innocent faces and thinking that I might not be there for them break my heart. Patty, the oldest one, says, Daddy, we miss you, come home. And Luis, the youngest one, says, Dad, I'm going to tell you a secret. I've been praying for you. I know you're going to get well. And I ask, what do you say in your prayers? And he says, God, please make my dad well soon so he can take us to Disneyland. I enjoyed my children's visit. And Luis impresses me as a negotiator. Afterwards, I also negotiate in prayer. Oh God, please let me be there for my children. Let me live the missing chapters of my story. At that moment, Dr. White, who had left before, comes back, and I ask him, what are the risks of the surgery? And he says the major risks are loss of motor functions and loss of life. I want to say, wow, you are full of good news today. But instead, I say, I need a second opinion. He agrees. And the second opinion comes from Dr. Eccles in the same hospital. He says, Antonio, If I were you, I would postpone the surgery for 3 months. Maybe it's a cyst, and it's been there all along. We can monitor its growth with monthly CAT scans, and that's how we can determine if it's a brain tumor. I like this doctor. And I say, yes, let's do it. A month later, Dr. White reviews the results of the new CAT scan, and he says, now, this is impossible. Let's do another one. When he reviews the results of the second CAT scan, he says, oh, Antonio, I have good news for you. Your brain tumor has disappeared. At first, I don't understand because this doctor has never given me good news. But Tina comes over and says, Antonio, didn't you notice that your brain tumor has disappeared? Can you imagine our joy? We thank God and we decide to celebrate the good news like football champions. I say, we're going to Disneyland. And Luis, the negotiator, is very happy. From this moment on, my life changed forever. I quit smoking for good. I become a soccer dad, and I strive as much as I can for work-life balance. I often remember the words of Dr. White. This is impossible. To my God, nothing is impossible. He heard our prayers and those of our friends in prayer groups. He set me back on the path to family, living the missing chapters of my story. I learned that you don't have to wait for alarming news. Make yourself and your family the main characters of your story. You will live fully and have no missing chapters.